Good evening. I'm going to call this meeting of April 15th, 2025 to order. If you will join me in standing, the mayor will lead us in prayer and a pledge.
Please bow with me. Lord, thank you once again for the wonderful city that we live in. Thank you for the staff that keeps it running properly. We ask that you watch over all and guide them. Guide our city council tonight to make sound and right decisions. We ask that you watch over our first responders as they protect us on a daily basis. And as we enter into the Holy Week, Lord God, you love this world so much that you gave your one and only Son. Lord, help us live in gladness and the grace of Easter every day. Let us have hearts of thankfulness for your sacrifice. Let us have eyes that look upon your grace and rejoice in our salvation. Help us walk in that mighty grace and tell your good news to the Lord, to the world. All for your glory do we pray, Lord. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Kathy, can you please call the roll?
Here.
Bishop.
Here.
Carla.
Here.
Avery.
Here.
Colchats.
Here.
Stewart.
Here. All right, if anyone in the audience has something they would like to speak about that is not on the agenda, if you could please fill out one of these forms up front and give it to Clerk Haley. We'll get to it in public comment later in the meeting. Mayor's report.
Not a whole lot going on except for a lot of people in town. If you haven't been downtown or seen downtown lately, it's packed. Every day's packed. On the weekends, Saturdays and Sundays, there's just people all over. So I want to thank CRA and everybody else that helped put this plan together. Everybody, the Public Works, our whole staff that really is keeping the town looking good. It's really cool. If you go downtown, I try to spend about an hour a day downtown just talking to people, and they are from all over. I mean, I'm talking from East Coast to West Coast. We had a Korean bus that came in, or a bus full of Koreans, I'm sorry. I think it was an American bus, but a lot of good things. And I won't steal Josh's thunder about groundbreaking. So, but other than that, it's just, it's really been fun seeing what's happening to our city. So,
Okay. Council members' reports.
Well, you didn't mention the Soda Fest.
well, I was going to let you do that this
Well,
time.
thank you. I appreciate it. It was crazy downtown. I mean, it was hard to walk around the circle. There was so many people. So I was glad. I didn't go down Sunday, but Saturday was.
Saturday was like last year's, or Sunday was like last year's Saturday.
Yeah, Saturday. I don't know how many people was here Saturday, but didn't they say last year was like 25,000?
26,000, and they got a report that'll be coming out. I don't know if it's official or not, so I don't have it with me, but it's almost triple.
It was
So
it was packed. But I agree with you. It's wonderful to go downtown, but I've been wanting to try Sophie's and I can't get into the place. But it's good to see downtown popping. So we think everybody just has a part in that.
Report.
Mr. Bishop, the report. No report. Okay. I guess I've got a little report. So the Rotary Club of Sebring did our groundbreaking ceremony last week for our new bathroom projects. Thank you to the city for you guys for supporting that, along with the Sebring CRA. Hoping to start turning dirt in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully by the fall we'll have that bathroom built. So it should be a great project. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the consent agenda. If any council member has anything they would like to pull from the consent agenda, you can indicate that now. Otherwise, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion we accept the consent agenda as proposed.
Second.
All right, Kathy, call the roll, please.
Bishop.
yes.
Carla.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Colchats.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. All right, moving on to old business. Item 9A, a proposed ordinance number 1538 requiring city council approval for property located outside the city limits to connect to a city utility system. Mr. Swain.
Ordinance 1538 is entitled, an ordinance amending Chapter 23 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sebring by requiring city council approval for property located outside the city limits to connect to a city utility system and providing for an effective date. This is on your agenda for second and final reading.
Any questions or comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening, Dana Riddell with Stonehenge Land Development Consultants. I'm not representing any one particular customer tonight for this particular item, but I do have concern over this ordinance as it is written. I've advised customers that we will have to start going before the city of Sebring for their kiss of approval before we actually get any approvals through the county when it comes to properties that are in the unincorporated Highlands County. The question they keep asking me is, what is the city of Sebring looking for? And I don't really have a good response for that. There's broad standards of measurement in the ordinance that give city council a lot of latitude in determining whether or not development should be located outside of the city of Sebring, but to use the water and wastewater from the city of Sebring. So I'm having a lot of difficulty providing them guidance in that way. And then I also really just want to point out that adopting an ordinance such as this isn't necessarily going to stop or preclude the types of developments that the city of Sebring is looking to potentially stop. I think I might have an idea, but I wouldn't want to speak for city council. There are other avenues that can be taken. A question that I would have for city council tonight is if you explored any other channels beyond regulating planning activities through utilities. Like, has anyone talked to the Central Florida Regional Planning Council and asked for their opinion on this particular ordinance and asked if there are any other mechanisms available? As Jeff Carlson, and I always get it confused with Greg and Jeff, I'm sorry, I think it's Jeff, the tax man, right? As he alluded to last meeting, there used to be a select area plan for Sebring. That meant that City of Sebring and Highlands County put their heads together and they determined how growth should occur in certain areas as it pertains to the city of Sebring. I believe that was a fair and valuable mechanism to use, and it established exact specifications. Although the language was weak, it was all shoulds and not shalls, and there were no land development regulations implemented in conjunction with the comprehensive plan, which made it very difficult to work with if you might have been a county planner at the time. So I would really urge council to potentially table this issue, reconsider, look at other avenues that can be utilized to implement the same exact thing you're doing with more specific standards that would serve to better guide development in the unincorporated areas of Sebring. Didn't know Sarah Beth was going to be here tonight. I don't know if she knows the full scope of what's going on here, but I imagine she's going to have the same difficulties when she tries to sell incoming prospective developers on potential land here in the unincorporated areas of Sebring, and she has to explain to them, yeah, we just have to go through this set of hearings with Highlands County, which is totally par for the course, and everyone kind of expects that and is used to that. But we also have to go through the city of Sebring. And I want you to understand what that means for the identity for the city of Sebring, that for a long time, and maybe we want to shift this. It's up to council, obviously, but maybe you want to shift the perspective of, no, city of Sebring isn't fully open for development. We're not development friendly. We only want X, Y, and Z, which is fine. We should just say what it is that we want, right? So that everyone has a clear understanding of what they're walking into and where they're coming. So yeah, those are really just my comments. I appreciate you listening, and I hope we consider reevaluate this decision.
Any other comments from the public? Any comments or questions from council? All right, I will entertain a motion.
Make a motion that we approve proposal ordinance 1538 on second file. As presented.
Second.
Kathy, call the roll, please.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Hochstetz.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 9B, proposed utility services agreement. Mr. Swain.
The ordinance that you've just amended refers to an agreement the city would have with an outside user. And part of the reason for having this is when potential developers in the county would ask the city for, if it had capacity to pick up a number of development units that they were looking to build, and the city said it had capacity, they would then come back and say, well, you promised us, you can't do otherwise. Now we've had a lawsuit regarding outside city users. So that's why we're looking to, have an agreement that if you don't have an agreement, then you're not obligated to be served by the city's utilities. So this is a form of an agreement for your consideration, and it has the owner, not just the developer, saying what the proposed development is going to be, what it's going to look like. That way, if you approve it, you're approving it based on what they have told you they want to do, not what some user 2 or 3 needs later decides that it would like to do, perhaps differently. So it does call for the owner of the property to sign a declaration of covenant that may be objectionable to some people who are just trying to maybe sell their land. But this is to avoid developers saying the city promised that they would serve them, and we may find out years later. So that's the rationale for the contract. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions or comments from the audience? All right. Any from council? I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the proposed utility services agreement as presented.
Second.
Kathy, call the roll, please.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carlisle,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Hochstetz.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. All right. Moving on to new business. Item 10A, a request to utilize the city right-of-way for fiber network. Ms. Murphy.
Good evening, council. Can you hear me?
Good evening.
My name is Sarah Beth Murphy. I serve as the Executive Manager of Business and Economic Development for the Highlands County Board of County Commissioners. Tonight, I have with me a few gentlemen. I have Mr. Brooks Swint from IBT Group USA, Kevin Hernandez from the county's IT department, and also Rick Arnold from PCS Fiber. We're here to share about the broadband project that the county is currently pursuing. The county received or has allocated $4.5 million from their American Rescue Plan Fund, or ARPA dollars, for broadband in Highlands County. The project has 3 main goals. One is to connect 2 new county buildings to dark fiber. One is to connect residences along that route, and one is to connect any businesses along that route as well. To give you a little background of the project itself, in 2021, the county did a feasibility study to analyze any of the broadband infrastructure currently in Highlands County and how it could be better expanded. They looked at all over the county, unincorporated, Avon Park, Sebring, Lake Placid. One of the areas that they noted for one of the fiber rings was downtown Sebring, which is why we're here tonight. Since then, the county went out for RFP for this project in between 2022 and 2023. IBT Group USA was selected in that, and they are contracting with PCS Fiber. IBT Group USA is an internet service provider. They're the ones who won the actual contract. They've subcontracted PCS to do all the actual construction of the project itself. We went under contract as the county with IBT Group USA in July of this last year. Since we've been working on the plans and the specific routes for this project, and we're at a point where we're ready to apply for the utility permits. And with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and invite Brooke and Rick up to share a little bit more about the project specifics, specifically exactly where the route's going, the method in which they plan to install the fiber, and then all 3 of us are here to answer any questions that you might have after the presentation. We do have a deadline to spend the ARPA dollars, It is at the end of 2026, so we're at the point where we're ready to get the permits and start building so that we can expend those dollars.
Presentation I sent. Yeah, there we go.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I approached one up with IBT Group. Obviously, we are looking to build a network in the downtown area to service the commercial and residents in downtown Cleveland. So basically, this gives an overview of the layout of the project. So we're going to tie into a lumen fiber and it's basically tie into the internet, faster internet, through the Island Government Center. All the cables that we're going to place are going to be underground, they're going to be buried in fibers, and all the cables will be installed in conduit to facilitate construction and to protect them, from potential damage from incidental digging and whatnot, and also makes replacement if such damage occurs. So we're going to use three methods to put the conduit in the ground. We use directional boring, which is a trenchless method where I don't know if anyone's familiar, but basically it's a drill. I have a picture up there that also demonstrates that. Go a little deeper, I think. Never mind. Let's go back. I'm sorry. I put those out of order. Anyway, so we're going to use directional boring, and also there will be some minimal open trenching in some of the sodded grass areas, and also to facilitate the directional boring to connect the dots, so to speak, from point to point as we drill under streets and driveways and whatnot. And then the area that we're most interested in is discussing tonight is the microtrenching, which we would like to do in the immediate sort of downtown area, that outer circle. If we go to I think we have a map. Yeah, that's the overview of the total network footprint. What you see there in pink, those are the proposed microtrench areas. And that's basically because there's very, very little real estate space to set up equipment. And it's also a very congested area with utilities. And so we feel like microtrenching would be the safest and most economical way to get that fiber and stop the cable on the ground. So I'd like for Rick to describe how the microtrenching process works.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So will it, just for reference, I can pass this around if you want, but typically in a micro trench, it's a slider road, which we've discussed with a few people on the project, and it's a 3/4 of an inch slot that gets cut into the pavement. It's below the road bed, so, but usually out of the way of utilities. So the whole point is that it's the least disruptive, most efficient way to get fiber into dense areas. And it wouldn't necessarily be an 8-way here. It would probably be a scaled down version, which might be half of this. But the point is that it's not digging big holes for toolboxes and having to put directional bore machines into very tight spaces. It's almost impossible in this particular area, and allows there to be multiple pathways put at the same time. So it's a dig once mentality. Should there be a need at any point infrastructure, there's a pathway there for it, and that's really the bottom line of it. Now, as far as the process to go in, there's a couple snapshots of this. That's the ring. Okay, so there's a picture of in process. The slot getting cut. It can be cut anywhere. Usually, we try and get right on the edge of the curb and the asphalt, just because it seems seamless at that point.
Question, and you may be covering this though. It looks like it's pretty much where Wall Street is. The brick
That circular deal is
behind the buildings.
Yes, behind the buildings, because it's the only way to serve those buildings, because we can't serve them from the front side.
Right. How does that work on a brick
It doesn't. So Brooke and I walked it again today, and I've had some of my PMs and stuff out walking it, and they think there's, for the majority of it, there's a section on the outer edge, I guess, would that be the outer edge, that seemed to be fed with asphalt and a concrete
Okay.
curb. We may be able to cut along that the whole way. That should minimize any disruption at that point, or any damage. Pavers definitely is.
I was gonna say,
First price.
I had a micro edge or micro
Yeah, it's
trench
good.
of pavers.
It's good. It's not that good.
Okay.
So, but anyway, that's in process. There's a process. You can see there's a back hose that comes up off of that. So it's not, it's like somebody with a 18-inch saw blade running down the road creating dust. There's a vacuum hose attached to it, and all the spoils get into a truck and carted away. So, and then you can go to the next particular deal. In that's the trenches in. Well, they don't see the conduit in that particular picture, but essentially right behind that, that's done. So between those two pictures, one of these gets put in that slot, and then it gets filled back up. That's as simple as that. And I could go on about the equipment. I don't know. I'm pretty sure nobody cares about the equipment so much, but that's a pretty grainy picture, but gives you a pretty good indication that there's, road patches are generally a little more of an eyesore than what this looks like once it's installed. And it's consistent throughout the area that we do. That's a directional bore machine that Brooke was talking about. Yeah. And you've probably seen them on the side of the road, may not have known what they do, but there's a lot of risk involved in directional bore work for utility locates and documented utilities, which is probably our biggest nemesis with something like that. This is primarily what we do as city, county, and DOT network builds, so we're pretty familiar with all of the ins and outs of navigating this. And that's a great way to cover a fair amount of territory every day, but generally speaking, in a perfect environment, this is probably 2,500 feet a day. Sebring will not be that much, but that's just gives you an indication. And that's probably a little bit more than most bore crews will do every day. By the time they're setting boxes, the time conduit in and everything else, just because this just gets laid in the hole and covered back up and sealed. So
And the micro trenching is only going to be on Wall Street, not on Circle Park.
that peak, if we go back to the center, that's it right there.
That is
Okay. Just the micro trench proposed areas, and there are areas that were identified by our team that are high risk density, going to be disruptive to do anything else.
Thank you.
What do you backfill with?
It's a compound. There's two separate pieces. There's the fill, and then there's the coating that goes in on the top, which is it's some kind of polymer coating. But it simulates the asphalt covering that you've got there.
And those are not highly traveled arteries either. so.
What's that?
I said those arteries that it's in is not they're
No.
not like Commerce. They're not off any of the streets off the circle.
Right, exactly. So we'll strategically, as we come back off of that a little bit so that we can actually start multiplying the spurs to feed out from that central circle.
Will your micro trenching only be on asphalt, or will you be doing any of it on like concrete curbing or sidewalks?
It would be on the edge of a curb, everywhere we could possibly. It's not just asphalt. So first prize is usually right on the edge of the asphalt, concrete curb.
Mhm.
So it's a little bit of both, and that's generally the least ridiculously bad looking area to do it. It looks like really when the road's first done. You just got a clean seam down the edge now that it looks like new asphalt.
But you're saying there will be some places where you're cutting through sidewalks or curbs?
I don't know that in that particular area there were any sidewalks, so I don't recall seeing any sidewalks, and we just walked it again today, but
I guess my concern would just be the repair on a
Yeah,
sidewalk versus asphalt.
100%. Like we're super cognizant of the restoration process with that. So the whole point of this is to minimize the cost involved with that restoration. So, obviously putting pavers back down is not going to be the same as being able to, fill a small gap with an epoxy for micro trench.
How deep is the trench?
So the blades are 18 inches. So generally we prefer to be 12 inches or more down, because that's technically the road bed. So in a complete road replacement, the conduit would still be secure. That's first prize for us. So there are times when it might need to be a little bit less or a full 18 inches, but we need to be, ideally, our goal is to try and be 12 inches or better.
So no more than 18.
Right, right. The blades, I don't think there's a bigger blade than the 18 inch. So
Okay.
that's about all they've done right now. It didn't even used to go that deep. So this is probably in the last, I don't know, 8-10 years that it's been able to go as deep as that. Just before it was just a small trench in the road, and every time they built a new service or whatever it is, you had to replace it. Nobody wants to do that. And we can scroll through this, see if there's anything else I can contribute to. That's all his stuff now. If you got any questions, I'll be here.
Sarah Beth asked that I give you guys some pricing information. The area once we activate the fire and turn it on. These are general rates. Obviously, there'll be marketing specials and incentives for folks for not residential but for businesses. And I did not. I'm not sure what the published commercial rates will be. Some of that's going to depend on the requirements of the individual commercial customer. Which can vary a little bit. So that's our published residential rates we'll be offering.
Any idea how long those prices are going to be locked in?
I can give my folks and get that back to you, but typically, it'll be. I can't see those prices changing for a couple of years, so, but I can get those.
Sarah or Scott?
And then the last slide basically just covers how with options. So people once we light the fiber up, there'll be obviously notices out that it's on. We'll have some potential door-to-door folks, marketing folks, solicit customers. People can sign up through our IBC Connect website. It's our toll-free customer service line. And we'll also be having some showcase the capabilities and speeds and what's available.
How does this differ from the service that's already available downtown?
I think generally I don't think we have fiber downtown. Coax option, maybe a twisted pair copper option. You got those answers?
Yeah, I do actually. I did look up on the federal connectivity map. What we do have, I actually use this address. The best thing that you have in downtown Sebring is copper. You have nothing with symmetrical speeds. The best one was through Xfinity, where you have an upload speed of 1200 Mbps and or a download speed of that, and an upload speed of 35. So it should give you at the lowest level symmetrical speeds of 150, I think. Right? Right?
I was just going to make a comment. It's kind of a generic comment, but at no point will a city or county ever complain about having competition in the county for bandwidth. So to the point that you've got a one horse situation right now. There are people that are listed here, but they don't serve all of it. The idea was to build this out and to create, a competitive environment. So to Brooks' earlier comment, once you have more than one carrier, a couple things happen. The guys that are still providing their services on copper are going to feel forced to upgrade, and the pricing, if you can get a fiber fed connection versus a copper first connection, take the fiber every time. So that's may not be helpful to everybody, but the competition that comes out of that is generally a speeds.
Go back one more slide. There we go. Yeah, you're there. I'm sorry.
So currently, the only carrier, and it's because they're running a cable-based network, would be Xfinity shows a gig service. I would challenge anybody to do a speed test on that. It's probably 3/4 of that at best, typically on a cable-based network. So that's my experience. So that's the best provider, and you're talking about, easily 2 gig capability for symmetrical 2 gig capabilities. This is 1 gig up and 35 meg down, or up the other way around, 1 gig down, 35 up. So if you're uploading files at 35 meg, that's gonna take a minute versus having a 2 gig connection symmetrically. So hopefully that helps.
Any other questions or comments from council? Any questions or comments from the audience? Yes, ma'am.
I was wondering.
You'll have to come up to the podium. Sorry. If you could state your name, please.
My name's Mercedes Muniz. I live at 2300 Lakeview Drive. I was wondering how long it takes on each slice of the circle in that alley because there are apartments on some of those slices and parking for those apartments or the businesses that park back there.
How long the construction will interfere with access?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
It's generally it's generally what we call a rolling MOT, which is maintenance of traffic. So, like I said, generally in an open environment, it's 2,500 feet a day, and they're moving along, and so it's pretty minimally disruptive. In that particular area, it will be a little slower, but it will be moving, and it's not like they're parked there for extended periods of time. So navigating in and out will just be kind of a rolling effort that we will take the point and try and make sure that the next waves know, the anticipated time that we might be rolling through this section.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, if there's nothing else, I will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve use of ROW request as presented.
Second?
Kathy, call the roll, please.
Bishop,
Yes.
Cornwell,
Yes.
Hayward,
Yes.
Klobuchar.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes. All right, moving on to item 10B, a utilities request for proposed development in the county located at 4007 Sparta Road. Ms. Riddell.
Good evening, Dana Riddell with Stonehenge Land Development Consultants for the record, representing Green Group Development LLC, who's working to purchase the property at 4007 Sparta Road. It's under a different ownership. It's Sparta Properties LLC at the moment. So you will see that those engaging in this contract are with Sparta Properties LLC. We have been patiently awaiting this process to be complete so that we can move forward with obtaining a letter of water and wastewater capacity for this particular development. There is water and sewer that runs directly past this property. The applicant, this is standard infill development. The applicant is requesting 40 single-family homes on this property. For some reason, when the zoning was initially passed, there was a zoning, like a condition on the zoning in a way that would never be proved in today's world. And there was also a restrictive deed that was implemented on the property. Again, not something usually done in county planning and zoning. Both of those mechanisms limited development on the property to 28 single-family residential homes, but the underlying future land use would allow up to 43 single-family homes. We are requesting 40. So, as you can see, it's being scrolled on the screen right now, a potential site plan. It's smaller lots. This is the same developer who came in and finally built out Los Villas. Obviously, Los Villas was platted and recorded by a separate developer way back before the market crashed. After the market did crash and it sat vacant for many years, this developer, Green Group Development, they came in and they finished the construction of all of those homes, making it into a finally built out community with a functioning HOA, a functioning pool, and a functioning gate. So these developers do have a track record in our community within the city limits of Sebring. And hopefully one day, as Sebring continues to expand and grow, these developers will also be located in the city limits of Sebring. So, thank you for your consideration. There's renderings, there's site plan, just little background information. You know, not every development, I do want to give this caveat, not every development that comes in will be able to produce renderings. This particular development, since we are applying for flexible unit development, does have a site plan established and does have renderings established. But if we were in the unincorporated county and we were applying for straight zoning and future land use, those would not be requirements for the application. So we would not have those documents prepared at this time. Flexible unit development and plan developments do require that document. They actually don't require the renderings. This is above and beyond from this applicant.
Well, they look great.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the council?
You know, you're saying that future zoning is 43 units on this parcel?
Correct. Future land use would allow up
So they're going to the county to get
only 40
only 40. Right now they could put 28 in.
per zoning.
So
Correct.
you're asking 12 more units.
Correct.
Okay.
That's if we approve the
We-
waters.
Or we're
Right, we would
just
just be
approving the
approving
utility
utilities.
side.
Right, but that gives them the ability to go to 40.
Well, they still have to go through the county.
Right.
They'd have to do this,
Yeah. 28 or 40, they'd still have to ask us for utilities.
I think 40's too many. It's kind of tight.
I don't. It's not. It's probably a lower density than Las Villas is. Significantly. Those
Those
are
lots are 35.
How wide are the
That's
lots
a-
in Las Vegas?
Las
Zero-
Villas are.
They're zero. Isn't Las Vegas zero lot line too?
In some areas, it's 0 lot.
So these still have to have 7 foot to the lot, 25 from front and back.
Yes, we're not requesting any reduction to the setback requirements. They'll require 25 feet front and rear yard setback, 7.5 on the sides. We are requesting slightly smaller lot sizes. Okay, ready? I'm gonna go into a lesson, one of my planning lessons. So the interesting thing about future land use and zoning is for as consistent as they aren't consistent. So the medium density future land use, which is what this property is entitled with, allows up to 8 dwelling units per acre. But the medium density residential future land use also accommodates single family residential zoning, which requires minimum lot sizes of 10,000 square feet. You cannot get 8 dwellings per acre with minimum lot sizes of 10,000 square feet. See how they match up, but they don't match up, right? So we are requesting a slight deviation, which is part of the reason we're going for flexible unit development. The city of Sebring doesn't have flexible unit development. They only have PDs. Flexible unit developments are when you basically come in saying, we're going to meet every intention of this district, but we're asking for slight flexibility in some of the zoning standards. The flexibility that we're asking for this development is for slightly smaller lot sizes. I think there's a site plan there, yes. So at the bottom, so yeah, a width of 50 by 120, but at the bottom of this site plan, it says the minimum lot size, which I think was 6,250 feet. Also larger than Las Villas.
Have you done a road study?
not for this particular development, but about a year prior to this, we were proposing a much more significant number of homes along Sparta Road for multifamily development that did have a traffic study, and it passed with flying colors. So if that one, and it's literally directly across the street, the one that we were working with, and I hate to even bring that up for this development because it was paid for by a different developer and it wasn't applied for this development. But that developer also supports this development as well.
Any other questions or comments, council? Any from the audience? Sir.
My question would be, is her, or the company's, approval with the county contingent upon the city providing water and sewer?
No, because any development in the county, if we are refused capacity from the city, there's language in the county's code that would allow us to proceed without City of Sebring's approval for utilities.
But for the full 40 acres or for just 28? Full 40 units or 28?
Either. If we're refused capacity from the City of Sebring, if the Board of County Commissioners so allows it, we could proceed either way.
Could you state your name for the record, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm Gary Brown, 4957 Sparta Road.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Okay. I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the utility services agreement conditioned upon execution by the owner.
We have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Kathy, can you call the roll, please?
Bishop,
Yes.
Carter,
No.
I'm sorry,
No.
Avery,
Yes.
Klobuchatz. Yes. Stewart.
Yes. All right. Thank you. We are now going to move on to public comment. First person, Ms. Jen Sanchez, coming to speak about downtown Sebring. And a reminder, so generally this is limited to 3 minutes, please.
Good evening. My name is Jen Sanchez, and I am the co-owner of Sugar Blossoms Bakery at 110 North Ridgewood Drive, just off the circle. Being part of this close-knit collaborative business community is a rarity in what is typically a competitive environment. It is a rare and wonderful space where competitors lift one another up to make Sebring's downtown welcoming and vibrant. Sebring's annual events like the Art Festival, Soda Pop Festival, and holiday celebrations are key to what makes our community so welcoming and unique. These events are made possible through partnership of local organizations like the Chamber of Commerce, the Rotary Club, and others. I appreciate their hard work contributing to the culture of the Circle and downtown Sebring in general. Each year during these festivals, you can see pop-ups with handmade goods, local artisans, and community entrepreneurs under the awnings of established storefronts. That was the case for us last year, and again this year during Soda Pop Festival. Last year, I spoke with Mr. Nate Litt, the city manager, who requested we shut down our vendors pop-up. But after some discussion, we agreed that there was no ordinance in place at that time that restricted that. So he did tell me at that time that they would work on putting a policy in place, though I have not heard that that has occurred yet. This year, a week before the festival, Soda Pop, we received an email from the city's PIO reminding us to park considerately. Parking has been a fun adventure in our new environment, and stating that pop-ups would not be permitted unless the vendor paid the event vendor fee. The text of the email in part included the following information. The city of Sebring has frequently witnessed local merchants inviting businesses to set up a pop-up in front of their location during special events, and we want to send a reminder that this is not allowed, and we will ask those pop-up businesses to leave if it is brought to our attention. Special events have specific approval for vendors to set up, and if a business does not fall under that vendor list, we cannot allow them to set up. We encourage you to participate in special events, but if you prefer not to, We ask that you please stay inside your location and do not expand into the public right of way. On the day of the event, so public this year, we were approached by a man. I was approached specifically, and I do see a couple of my neighbors from downtown here tonight that also had conversations with this gentleman. He did not identify himself. He did not say who he was affiliated with. He provided me this little document right here. As you can see, it has no letterhead and it has no signature and it has no identification of who this is from. So he repeated the message that was on that document, the email. And first I said, well, what is the authority of this request? And he said, well, it's a DOT requirement. Well, last year we went to the DOT and the DOT said, that's not us. Like, we're the roads, but we're not the sidewalks. They said, that's probably the city of Sebring. So,
Sorry to interrupt you. You have 20 seconds left.
okay. So my concern is simple. In the absence of a clear ordinance, what authority does the chamber or anyone else, it's only the chamber that's had an issue with us, have in demanding that we pay a fee? And they're the only ones. The week before, the Rotary put on Beer Fest, and they did not have any problem with any pop-ups. So I'm just interested in a clear ordinance, not to lodge a complaint, but ask that clear communication is provided.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To comment on that, I've had some discussions today on that as well, and I think that's something that we've got to work on. It's a little bit of a complicated issue because of how the right-of-way is downtown, but we're working on that. Thank you. All right, next up, Mr. McGregor Love to speak about utilities.
Good evening. For the record, McGregor Love, 215 North Eola Drive. I apologize. I'm about to commit a bit of a procedural misdemeanor. I was here to speak about the ordinance that was approved and to voice my concerns. They were reflected in a letter that each of you should have received earlier today. Because of you've already voted and it's been approved, I will ask this council whether I can give a brief explanation of those concerns, and if not, I respect that the time has passed to make those comments.
If you can do it in 2.5 minutes.
I can do it in 2.5 minutes.
Okay.
If you've read the letter, you understand what the case law says. I think that the application, which I believe that may have been your first consideration of a utilities extension outside boundary of the city, and there wasn't much discussion of it, and the vote proceeded, but it puts you in a position where you're exerting planning level discretion over property that's not within your boundary, when case law says really it has to be objective criteria that you're basing this on. That's, I believe, the danger with the degree of discretion from the ordinance, and those are the nature of our concerns. But I appreciate your time. Thank you.
Okay. Moving on to item 13A, project report. Mr. Naylor.
Good evening, Council. I want to bring a couple items to your attention. The Echo Park contract inspection period has been extended to April 23rd. We're still waiting on both the appraisal and survey, right? And then the purchase of building and parking lot at 126 West Center. That inspection period is going to be extended to May 23rd. I've spoken to the doctor and have addendum to his contract that will go for him to execute it as well. We are still working on our due diligence on that building, and we have just about contracted. We have a proposal from an elevator assessment firm to provide services to give us an idea of the condition of the elevators. And then I'm still waiting on a couple of roofing estimates, if you will, for the property as well.
Any questions? All right. Moving on, Clerk Haley.
So moved.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Bishop,
Yes.
Carl,
Yes.
Haver,
Yes.
Colchester,
Yes.
Stewart,
Yes.